This is the 33. This the last one. It has 1 like and 1 comment, but it's I ended with 2 quotes. The first is by Barbara Raas. I'll come back on her later on. You have to keep yourself open and to put yourself in a vulnerable position. So that I'm doing by talking in English. In moments when everybody is longing for perfectionism. You have to take risks without knowing that there is a guaranteed success. And then Peter de Buijzer writes, wanting to change the world as a writer is hopeless. And I don't want to do it. I don't want to, it's too dull. I don't want to change the world. I want us to change the world we live in. Ik wil dat we van wereld veranderen. I want us to change the world we live in.
No, to change.
I want us
to change worlds.
Yes. I don't want to change the world. I want us to change worlds. Thank you. It's so well said in Dutch that it's difficult to translate. Number 18 has 5 likes also. Language in 2000 years' time has only become more regulated, more ruled, has get more and more rules about it. Words have lost their flexibility. They have to have a fixed place in a sentence so that the meaning of the word is clear. And also, more and more words are losing their literal meaning because they are put into an expression. They are put into a fixed expression, and they only have meaning within this expression. They don't have their literal meaning more. What I'm saying here is very short in a book that I've read about by Joop van der Horst, who explains this in more than I said. But also, and then I end with, when you look at it that way, the longing for freedom in avant-garde literature more looks like behind fight. Achterhoedegevecht. (23) 4 likes. A literature with attention for the play of active and passive forces cannot other be than experimental, because literature is diachronic art. It's an art that asks time from the reader and puts elements next to each other, which in reality are at the same time, which are synchronic. So to put out a reader out of his notion of time, you need rhetoric. But you also need to be able to know what how the reading pattern is of your reader, and how to play with that. The first word I had in Dutch was ontregelen. I don't know how that would be translated in English. Ontregelen. Alienating a bit. But that sounded too negative for me, and then I invented my own word, verregelen, which would be better if it existed. not just, ont in Dutch is negative, and I don't want it to be negative, so not, playing with rules and not simply deruling, something like that. This one also is very wrong, number 10, it had no likes, I agree with that. Holland loves more the irony of the ready-made, while Flanders is more concerned with its language. And historically something can be said about this, but today those two ways of going, those two possible going on with language, it's not looking for land boundaries anymore. So you have Holland's writers concerned with their language and be serious about it, and you also have Flemish writers being more taking the distance of irony. Number 20, 3 likes. Since dictionary, oh, that's an interesting one. I give that my like too, because it's also a bit things we have talked about already about meaning. The word meaning has been formed a lot. And I say here, since dictionaries tell us what the meaning of a word is, we are getting more and more estranged of what it means to bury a meaning, to carry a meaning. Meaning is not a puzzle, it's not something you have to dig out of dictionaries and else. And a work of art has meaning when we cannot stop talking about it, when there's a chain of words going on in your head and you long for giving it a meaning. And then I quote a Dutch poet, Nachum Weinberg: "The meaning of words in poems does not stop, but what someone can do stops somewhere. Even Tao Qian and Du Fu didn't manage to hold close to all meaning." Number 6. Already a century ago, Marinetti and others writing then opened the poetic language of words for the words of today, for what is happening at that moment, for contemporaneity. What I'm thinking of is that Marinetti said that he loved the idea of writing about cars, writing about airplanes, that should be part of poetry. And although the lyrical lyricality from 100 years ago has become the past, still many poets still use the words that we already had in the Middle Ages, and are not poetry is looked at, let's try get to the essence, and then they use the essential words, as you could say. I don't know how to say it. It is number 1. Everything started with this one. Trends, and something that already has been buzzing around in talks we already had. Trends in poetry are similar with changements in political majorities, which mean that we talked about mainstream literature and underground literature, but when you look at it in 60s, 70s, a lot of experimental poetry was published in Dutch literature by mainstream publishing houses. And that's because then there was the openness, and you also see that with leftish and rightish, and that's what the difference. I think there is some similarity one can see. And this is the last one, 30, 31 and 32, they are together. 31 has 1 like, but I would all 3 of them give 1 like, personally. Also because I was a bit, there were some things I wanted to write about, and I couldn't put my finger on it. And when I wrote a text by Barbara Raas, who is also writing about this text about the art world in general and in Flanders, and also she compares it to having a constant burnout. It's about working together, about daring to fail, she wrote. And when I read that text, and then I knew what I wanted to write about, something like that. 30. The word experiment calls for very limited realities, where there are a lot of rules, a lot of arrangement made, and only one uncertainty is left open, is tolerated, so that the experiment can give insight in that one uncertainty. It starts with a clear questioning, ends with an answer, and with an invitation for new questions. That's what in scientific word experiment does. But also the experiment is part of our enslavement to measurement, right? And because of that whole paradigm, I don't like the word experiment. Number 31, 1 like. We are not only putting into reality the nightmare of the growth economy, we also have the nightmare of the growth science. We know more and more, we need to know more and more, we need to learn lifelong. And who is learning us to cope with the not knowing, with the uncertainty, with what is always strange around us, about us? Who learns us to have a right for vulnerability, for uncertainty, for what is strange to us? And also in art, also in the most einzelgängerige art of all, literature, one has to dare to think about the openness to the other, about the going beyond the I, going to stand with your feet into that uncertainty and just how can one cope with that uncertainty? And that is for me what art and literature should be about. And then 32, and then the 32 is let's say my statement about an art that I would love to make myself.